everybody, and welcome back to the very first SPFBO news that we have had in quite a while. My name is Katherine D. Graham. For those who have not been on one of these lives before, I'm glad to have you here. I'm one of the SPFBO participants in the self-published fantasy blog off year 9 that's going right now. And while my own book was cut relatively early on, it's been really exciting and an honor to see how this community has progressed. So today we're going to talk about the announcement that everybody's been waiting on. All 300 of us that put our books in for consideration by these 10 blogs as part of this contest, and see which 10 were announced, the finalists. And we're going to look at the descriptions of those books. So real briefly, before I show you the first one, and then we'll just dive right in, I am just a participant. I'm not receiving any kind of compensation for sharing about these books, sharing about SPFBO, sharing the links. This is all here just to be a service to our community and the writers who are participating. So if you would like to check these out, the links to all 10 are going to be in the description box, as are the links to all of the blogs, including Mark Lawrence, who organizes this contest every year. So please give them a follow. Check out some of these books. Maybe you'll find a new favorite. And if you'd like to support my channel, a like and a subscribe would be super helpful, as well as any comments you'd like to make today or on the replay. So with that, let's see who the final 10 are for SPFBO 2023. We're going to start with Fantasy Factions Pick. I am so excited about this book. I have been reading this book. I'm actually a good chunk into it now. This is Hills of Heather and Bone. Oh, this book has so much emotion and depth. I am so proud of this one for making it through out of all the competition, and I know it was hard, but this book is by K.E. Andrews, and it's basically, I'm going to actually pull up the description on the screen, but for the sake of time, I'm not going to read every single one. Some of these descriptions are like 3 slides long. Hi, AF. So I will scroll through them slowly. And then if you'd like to pause if you're watching the replay and read the full thing, you can, or you can click on the link in the description box and be taken to the book and read it all there as well. But essentially, Hills of Heather and Bone is about a couple who's already married, so you don't have to worry about the romantic pining, but they still have the sweet romance between them. One of them has a gift, like a bloodborne magic type gift, and is essentially hunted from the very beginning. So this is not spoiler. This is what you're opening with in chapter 1. And she has to overcome the stigma that's tied to the type of magic she has. And her husband, who would otherwise be a respectable, honorable person with his talents, is hunted. And really, they have to, I'm going to go ahead and go to the next one for people who are reading. They have to face off against the stereotypes, the stigma, and overcome in order to save each other, to save their marriage, and also others who are like them in their community, essentially, is what I'm gathering at this point. So she's a bone weaver, and it has some just great morally gray questions of good versus evil. What makes somebody evil, and can somebody be born evil just because of their talent and not? And there's so much depth to this book, and these characters feel so real, and the chicken is hilarious. So yes, I am thoroughly enjoying this one as a reviewer myself, but I really highly recommend this one. I'm glad to see that it made it as a finalist. I bought that one after the semi-finalist review. Hey, JP. Yeah, there's so much going on right now. So that's the first book. Congratulations to K.E. Andrews for making it to the finalist. Going on to book number 2, we have The Last Ranger, and this is another good book that I actually had read before SPFBO started. This is by JDL Rosell. I'm so sorry, JDL. One day I'm going to ask them how to pronounce their last name. Promise. Oh, Katie's on. Yes. I haven't even gotten to tell Katie anything because, bless her heart, there's been a lot going on. But The Last Ranger is another one that I thoroughly enjoyed, that I read before SPFBO began. And this book, I mean, aside from the title that it's about a ranger, this person is really one of those underdog but very talented characters. They're not an underdog character because they don't have skills. but more because of what life has thrown at them. And as you can see here, they've been betrayed, they've been hunted, they've been left for dead. But they're very capable. She is a wonderful, strong female main character. There's a great sprawling world here. And really the stakes that bring her out of her own are just gut-wrenching places, knowing that she has to decide whether she's going to actually embrace the power that she has or let everything, I guess, not being spoilery, let everything undo that way. But so yes, very excited. The third book that made it to the finalists is A Rival Most Vile, and we interviewed this author, R.K. Ashwick, earlier this year during our SPFBO Live panel interview. So if you want to go see them and hear them talk about their own book, you can do that at the playlist on my channel's homepage. But A Rival Most Vile is ultimately about two alchemists who have a heated rivalry. Their businesses are established across the street from each other. There's a level of comedy in this one that offsets some big stakes tension and also a little bit of romance in there. So it was a very enjoyable read. Excited to see it in here too. And really, I feel like the judges have been on point. Although there are great candidates going up against a lot of these people, and there could have been other strong choices, I can see why some of these would be good for a very wide group of audiences. So this one was chosen by Lynn's Books and the Critiquing Chemist. And there's the last scroll on that one. Okay, so now we're moving on to the Weatherwax Reports pick, which is the Wickwire Watch. And this one is a little darker. As you can see, trust no one. Hey, Luna. Good to have you on. Yes, raising glasses, celebrating with all of our finalists today. This is actually one that I have not read yet that's sitting on my TBR, and I'm curious to know if you're watching live. Have you read it? What have you thought of it? So I don't have a lot of personal to add to it beyond what you're seeing here on the slides, but ultimately Ink is the main character, and he's offered a chance to protect himself by banding himself with this group, but he discovers that they're fugitives. And there's a good, despite dark tint, there's also some hints that there's going to be some humor in here, like sing-alongs. So I'm curious to see how the book goes. Katie says she's not heard that one, but she's heard fantastic things about it. Yes, there's so many good books in SPFBO, even though I've read, at this point, I now think my list is up to about 100 that I've read of the 300. It still doesn't scratch the surface of all 300. The Fall Is All There Is the next one. This is Becky M's pick. This one's written by C.M. Kaplan. Just started reading the Wickwire Watch. The opening was quite good. Oh, that's encouraging. Thank you for sharing. And I like that you've already updated your cover, C.M. Kaplan, if you're watching, with your SPFBO finalist sticker. That's awesome. So this one is another one that's sitting on my personal TBR list. All Peter Mercy wanted was a good old-fashioned dramatic exit from his life as a prince. And I love a reluctant royal trope. So right then when I saw the bold, I was like, oh, this is going to be interesting. But what's more interesting is he's already fled when the story starts. That he's fled 5 years ago. And now he has to decide whether or not to ultimately go back or where to pledge his loyalty to now that his father has died. So here's the next line of that. A lot of family drama and tension in there. And I like the cyborg horse touch. I think that was another thing that really had me intrigued by this, because I love horse main characters, as you may know if you've watched the channel a while. Love a good horse side character. So if you've read this one, feel free to drop your comments, drop your endorsements. But it is sitting pretty high up there on my TBR. All right, the next one we have that is the finalist is Colt West by Clayton Snyder. This was the Before We Go blog's pick. I have not read this one. This is not a genre I would typically pick up, the Western style fantasy, but I've heard really good things about it. This is one of those classic tropes that the guy has lost everything and then life gets worse. But I read the bloggers' reviews of this book and it looks very promising. So even though I don't read a lot of Western fantasy, I actually might pick this one up just to say I've read all the finalists and see how this plays up to the other books that I've read in a similar vein. Congratulations, Clayton. All right, Queen's Book Asylum. Here we go. Ryan Kirk, The Last Fang of God. This is sort of a mythological style fantasy. When gods refuse to die, it's humans that suffer, and it talks a lot about deities and humans, and there's so much family responsibility, family drama. There's a lot of good stuff going on in this book, but it's a little deep. I have read the beginning of this one. Oh, starts Western and gets weird, says JB. Not The Last Fang of God. I think that was for the previous book, though. So will it be enough time to protect his daughter from the whims of the gods? Love a good mortals versus the gods, mortals versus the divine story. All right, this is one that I have read, that I loved, that I feel definitely deserved to be here, was one of the early clinchers for this year's competition, and this is Daughter of the Beast by E.C. Greaves. I believe E.C. Greaves did a live reading of this on the channel. I've had so many people on. It's been amazing. But you can find that in the SPFBO playlist if that's the case. But so much good, dark fantasy in here. Fear not the beasts in your stories, with a stout blade and a stouter heart become the thing they fear, is the tagline on this one. And I love the main character. I love the role of the strong women in this book, and how really a part of what she has to overcome is more than just a monster. It's also part of who she is as a person and part of her community, and what they believe, and freedom and captivity and what it means to be strong and also be vulnerable. Is all tied into here, so I thoroughly enjoyed it. I'm very proud of E.C. Greaves for making it this far and making it to the finalists. Congratulations for making it on Bookborn. Some stout competition all around this year. And then we have Murder at Spindle Manor by Morgan Stang. This was Philip Chase's choice for finalists this year. This one is sort of a fantasy mystery style book. I've read the opening. I haven't read much more than that. While I personally lean more toward epic, I did think it had some interesting tone to it. And I like the idea of the person solving the mystery also sort of being like a huntress. She's sort of elegant. She's sort of strong at the same time, at least in my mind, or how I imagined her. So very interested. Makes me think of sort of if Clue, it was introduced into a manor in a fantasy style setting. So yeah, congratulations. And there's the last page on that one. All right, and the last one that we have, number 10, is Covers with Cassidy's Pick. This is Master of the Void by Wind Raven. It was picked for semifinalists very early on in this competition. It seems like it's always been a strong contender. And this is one I have not read at all yet. So again, feel free to drop whatever you think about it, your experience reading it, in the comments. I'd love to hear it and love to share it. But basically, we've got some really classic aspects of fantasy described in the blurb. You've got the big sprawling world building. You've got sort of a university style setup in the beginning, and then you have disaster strikes and ends up threatening everything. And so there's magic, there's danger, there's archmages, looming evil. I mean, I'm really excited to read this one when I get to it. But congratulations, Wind Raven. Very excited, proud for everybody. Here they are, all 10 finalists. This screenshot came from Mark Lawrence's blog, which is also linked in the description box where you can see them. You can click on all the books there as well. I just want to take a moment and say how proud I am for the people who, like me, didn't get to semifinalist, didn't get to finalist. Just because there was another book that was a stronger contender in the category this year does not mean your book was not good. It does not mean that there wasn't another audience that would have better enjoyed your book. It takes a lot of courage to put your book out in such a highly public competition like this. And sometimes that pays off in the form of making it to finalists. And sometimes that takes the form of paying off in a community. And I can't speak for the other SPFBO authors, but I can speak for myself when I say that this has been a life-changing competition in every way. It has plugged me into a community of true friends and people who genuinely care and are proud of and happy for the people who have moved on, even if we didn't. It's just been great. So if you're an author and you've been following SPFBO News because you're like, do I want to do this next year and put up with all this craziness next year? I would highly recommend giving it a try. It might fill up super, super fast, but really what you're gaining from doing this, even if you get cut on the first round, is so irreplaceable, and you're not going to get that with other book contests, at least not that I've found. You're not going to just put in your book and then forget about it till the results come out. You're going to find a community that's going to talk you through the whole way. So I really think this is just a huge win overall. So kudos to everybody. And we're going to do one final raise of glass for everybody who didn't make it this far. And Katie summed it up exactly. It's a treasure just to find the authors that we've met. So we're raising a glass to Mark Lawrence for coordinating this. We're raising a glass to the bloggers who spent their time reading parts of 300 books, which is a lot of books. We're putting a glass up for our fallen peers. We're putting them up for the people who made semi, the people who didn't, the people who got cut, and Steve, who has been here for almost every single live. Hey, Steve. Yeah, Luna said raising glasses. So we're going to raise glasses today because it is highly likely that I will not be back to do another one of these SPFBO specific blogs until they announce the winner. I have other videos that are coming, and we have a giant indie author blitz coming up in December. I'm super excited. Rachel Renner's going to be on. We've got some other surprise authors that are being nominated by readers and writers to be on this year. Last year we had 17 panels. We had over 55 authors. So I hope you'll subscribe and stick around to see more people in the indie community as the year goes on. But yes, kudos to the SPFBO team. I'm so looking forward to hopefully doing this again with you guys next year, and really appreciate you all tuning in week after week as this went on. Thank you so much, everybody, and I will catch you guys on the next video. Bye.